Brian had always been different. While other children in his village excelled at tests of strength, intelligence, and agility, he struggled at everything. Math problems confused him, physical trials exhausted him, and even the simplest logic puzzles seemed impossible. His parents, though proud of his heart and determination, could not hide their worry. One morning, a strange sky shimmered above their small town. A massive alien ship hovered silently, glowing with blue light. As if observing the Earth, the villagers whispered in panic. But Brian's father, determined to protect his son, stepped forward to meet the beings. The aliens were unlike anything Brian had imagined. They were tall, slender, with glowing eyes and skin that seemed like liquid metal. One of them, taller than the rest, spoke in a voice that echoed in the minds of everyone around. "We have come to find the strongest mind and body on this planet. Only the worthy may survive." The villagers trembled as the aliens scanned the people, their glowing fingers pointing out the weak and strong. When they reached Brian, the tallest alien shook its head and laughed. "Your son failed every test. He is weak. He will never awaken the power we seek." Brian felt a shiver down his spine. He had always felt ordinary, always behind, but hearing it aloud, in front of so many, and from beings who looked like gods, hurt more than anything else. His classmates laughed nervously, and even some adults exchanged doubtful glances, but Brian did not cry. Deep down, he felt something stirring a strange heat in his chest, as if his blood was reacting to their mockery. The aliens decided to take him for a closer test, dragging him aboard their ship. His father pleaded, but the aliens waved him away, their metal limbs brushing through the air with unworldly grace. Once inside, Brian faced a series of tests unlike anything on Earth. He was made to solve puzzles with shifting shapes that defied logic, lift objects that seemed heavier than mountains, and endure sensations that no human body could normally bear. And yes, he failed each one. Or, at least, that's what it seemed. Pathetic, the aliens mocked. "Your blood is weak. Your mind is weak. You cannot awaken the ancient weapon. Return him to the Earth. He is useless." But as they turned to leave, something unexpected happened. A small scratch on Brian's arm began to glow faintly. The aliens noticed it and paused. The glow spread slowly, moving up his veins like molten gold. "What is this?" one hissed. "It shouldn't be possible. Human blood cannot activate the weapon." Brian's fear was replaced by curiosity. He looked at his hand and saw the glow intensifying, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. The alien ship trembled. Panels of unknown technology lit up with symbols that only the tallest aliens seemed to understand. Brian felt a strange connection to the ship, as if it were alive and responding to him. Every mocking word the aliens had spoken now seemed to fuel this mysterious energy. The heat in his chest exploded outward, and for the first time, Brian felt powerful, unstoppable. As the ship shook violently, alarms blaring in alien code, the tallest alien screamed, "Impossible. He is not supposed to," but before the words could finish, a beam of golden light shot from Brian's veins into the center of the ship. Ancient runes etched into the walls glowed, and a hidden chamber opened beneath the deck. The aliens realized, too late, that Brian was connected to something much older than their technology. The weapon they had searched for across galaxies had awoken not through strength, skill, or intelligence, but through the courage and heart of a boy they had mocked. And as the chamber opened, revealing a glowing, ancient device, Brian's eyes reflected a golden light that no human should possess. The aliens stepped back in fear, their mockery replaced by panic. Brian had failed every test they had created, yet here he was unintentionally awakening a weapon that could decide the fate of worlds. His journey had only begun, and he could feel the weight of responsibility pressing on him. Brian stood in the center of the alien ship's ancient chamber, feeling the hum of power vibrate through his veins. The golden light that had erupted from his blood still flowed outward, connecting him to the alien technology in ways he could not understand. The aliens, who had moments ago mocked him without mercy, now took cautious steps backward, their eyes wide with fear. "This cannot be real," one whispered in a trembling voice. "Human blood cannot awaken the weapon. It's impossible." The tallest alien, the one who had first laughed at Brian's failures, clenched his metallic fists. "He is not just strong. He is something else, something dangerous." Brian's heart raced, but he did not panic. Instead, he tried to understand what was happening. The chamber itself seemed alive, responding to his thoughts and emotions. Runes on the walls pulsed, moving like flowing liquid, and a platform in the center rose slowly, revealing the core of the ancient weapon. It was enormous, glowing with an otherworldly energy that seemed almost sentient. It had a crystalline structure with lines of gold and silver, twisting and folding into shapes that defied physics. Brian reached out instinctively, his fingers brushing the surface, and the moment he touched it, he felt a surge of knowledge of civilizations that had come and gone, secrets of energy and matter, and the lives of beings across galaxies. The aliens gasped. They had never seen a human interface with the weapon, let alone activate it. He must be controlled, one hissed. If he learns to master it, we are finished. The tallest alien, whose name Brian later learned was called Veron, stepped forward cautiously. Boy, he said, his voice softer but still commanding, do you know what you are holding? Brian shook his head. I don't know. I just felt something when you mocked me. Something inside me woke up. Veron's eyes narrowed. That is because your blood carries a rare mutation, a spark that has been lost in humans for millennia. You are the key to an ancient power no species can touch. If you fail to control it, it will destroy everything around you, including yourself. Brian swallowed hard. The responsibility weighed on him, yet he felt a strange calm. He had failed every test on Earth, and yet, here he was, facing a power no one else could access. Then teach me, he said simply. Teach me how to control it. Veron hesitated. He had not expected the human to speak with such confidence. His species had assumed humans were primitive, incapable of comprehension, but this boy was proving them wrong. Very well, Veron said, but know this, controlling the weapon requires more than strength. It requires understanding, heart, and the ability to let go of fear. Any mistake could be fatal. And so began Brian's training. Though it was nothing like a human would recognize, the aliens could not use their language for this. It was too slow. Instead, Brian connected directly with the weapon through the flow of energy in his blood. Images, emotions, and concepts flooded his mind, memories of warriors from ancient times. Instructions encoded in light and sound, battles fought across the stars. At first, it was overwhelming. Brian felt pain as his body tried to adapt, his mind stretching to comprehend concepts far beyond human experience. Yet with each pulse, he grew stronger, more attuned to the energy that now coursed through him. Days passed, though time aboard the ship was warped, and Brian emerged from what seemed like endless training with control over small but powerful abilities. He could direct beams of energy, manipulate objects without touching them, and sense the flow of life around him. The aliens watched in awe, some of them whispering that the boy might surpass even the most advanced beings in the galaxy. But not all were convinced. A few plotted in secret, fearing that this human could threaten their dominance. Then, one night, while Brian rested in the glowing chamber, he heard a whisper not from the aliens, but from the weapon itself. Brian, you have awakened me, but a threat approaches. A darkness that has waited centuries for a host. Only you can stop it. Brian's eyes widened. He had assumed the challenge was controlling the weapon, but now he understood there was a larger purpose. His blood had not just activated the device, it had awakened it for a reason. Somewhere in the galaxy, forces older than the aliens themselves were stirring, drawn to the power he now possessed. The next day, the aliens confronted Brian with news that confirmed his fears. A fleet approaches, Veron said gravely, pointing to the holographic projection of distant ships moving with lethal precision. They are the harbingers, a race that once sought to enslave galaxies. They sensed the weapon's awakening. If they reach Earth first, it will be the end of your world. Brian clenched his fists. The same boy who had failed every test now faced a threat that could destroy not just him, but his entire planet. And yet, he felt ready. The weapon pulsed in his veins, guiding him, empowering him. Brian spent the next hours learning to combine his human instincts with the alien technology. He realized that his failures on Earth had been preparing him. While other children excelled at straightforward tests, he had endured doubt, fear, and ridicule. That endurance, that resilience, was the key to controlling the ancient power. He could feel the difference between strength that comes from muscle or intellect and strength that comes from heart and spirit. His failures had made him perfect for this task. As the Harbinger fleet approached, the aliens prepared for battle. But Brian had an idea. Instead of attacking directly, he would use the weapon in a way the aliens had never considered. He extended his hands, and a golden shield of energy erupted around the ship, invisible to the naked eye but impenetrable. Then, with a pulse of thought, he projected illusions of the ship across space, confusing the incoming fleet. Every attack they launched was absorbed or diverted, and the aliens could only watch in amazement as Brian turned defense into offense without striking a single ship directly. Veron stepped forward, a rare smile on his face. You truly are remarkable. Brian, I see now why your species survived, despite its weaknesses. Your strength is not measured by tests, but by your ability to rise above doubt and fear. You have passed every test that matters, even those I never imagined. Brian felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for what he had achieved for his world. The alien mockery, the ridicule, the failures, they had all led him to this moment. As the battle ended and the harbingers retreated, Brian realized something extraordinary. His blood had not only activated the weapon but had connected him to the ancient force in a way no one else could. He was no longer just a boy who failed tests. He was the guardian of a power older than time itself. And though he was still learning, he knew one thing: his journey was only beginning. Greater threats, mysteries, and adventures awaited, and this time, he would face them not as a failure, but as a hero. Brian stood on the bridge of the alien ship, the golden glow of the ancient weapon coursing through his veins like molten fire. The Harbinger fleet had retreated, but their threat lingered a shadow over the galaxy that would not rest. He looked at Veron, the tallest alien, who had become both a mentor and cautious friend. Brian, Veron said, what you have done is beyond anything any species could imagine, but the true challenge lies ahead. The weapon is alive. It senses the Harbinger Queen approaching. She is the final test, and this time, failure will not be an option. Brian's heart pounded. He had failed tests on Earth. He had endured ridicule, and yet now, every moment of doubt seemed to melt away in the heat of responsibility. He realized that the ancient weapon had not chosen him by accident. It had sought a heart that could endure, a mind capable of adapting, and a spirit that refused to break. He clenched his fists. I won't fail, he said simply. Not this time. The alien ship descended into the depths of the galaxy, chasing signals of the approaching Harbinger Queen. Her ship was unlike anything Brian had sent, colossal, black as void, with spikes of dark energy extending from its hull. Pulsating with a sinister glow, the Queen herself was rumored to be hundreds of years old, a being who consumed worlds to increase her power. Brian felt fear, but it was mixed with a strange determination. He was not alone. The weapon and the aliens were with him. And now he understood the real meaning of teamwork. When they entered striking range, the Queen's fleet attacked. Veron and the others engaged, but Brian focused on the weapon. He realized it responded not just to his blood, but to his emotions and intentions. The golden light spread outward, forming shields around allied ships, repelling beams of energy, and turning attacks back toward the enemy. But the Queen was cunning. Her attacks were not just physical, they were mental, attempting to invade Brian's mind, to intimidate him with visions of failure and despair. For a moment, Brian felt the old familiar sting of doubt. The visions were terrifying. He saw himself failing, the Earth burning, his father crying, and the aliens crushed. He felt powerless. But then he remembered everything he had endured. Every test he failed, every insult, every laugh at his expense, it had all prepared him for this. With a deep breath, he focused, letting the weapon resonate with his heart instead of his fear. The golden energy flared, stronger than ever, and the visions shattered like glass. The Queen screamed in frustration, sensing the resilience that no amount of terror could break. Brian realized the key to defeating her was not brute force, but understanding the weapon's true power. It was not just a tool of destruction, it was a force of life and balance. He connected to it fully, feeling the heartbeat of the universe in his veins. With a single thought, he drew streams of golden energy into a concentrated beam and projected it at the Queen. But instead of obliterating her, he wrapped the energy around her ship, isolating it, and then phased it into a suspended state where it could no longer harm anyone. The Harbinger Queen was trapped, not destroyed, but neutralized, her threat contained. The aliens gasped. Never had a human controlled the weapon in such a way. He is beyond comprehension, Veron whispered. No species could have achieved this. Brian stepped back, exhausted but exhilarated. He realized that his failures had given him a unique perspective. While the aliens approached challenges with logic and calculated aggression, he approached them with empathy and creativity. That combination, unknowingly developed through a lifetime of ridicule and struggle, had allowed him to achieve what even the oldest civilizations could not. With the Queen contained, the galaxy breathed a sigh of relief. The aliens began repairs on their ships, and Veron approached Brian with a rare smile. You have passed every test imaginable, not just the tests of strength, skill, or intelligence, but the ultimate test, to rise when all odds are against you. You have proven that true power lies not in perfection, but in the courage to persist despite failure. Brian smiled back, feeling a warmth in his chest. For the first time in his life, he understood that failing was not shameful, it was preparation. Every mistake had been a step toward this moment, as they returned to Earth. Brian noticed the world below, peaceful and unaware of the cosmic battle that had just taken place. He realized that life would continue, ordinary in appearance, yet forever changed because of him. The villagers who had once laughed at his failures would never understand what he had achieved, but he didn't need them to. He had found his purpose, and that was enough. Back on Earth, Brian's father hugged him tightly, tears streaming down his face. "I always knew you were special," he whispered. "I just didn't know." Brian laughed softly. "I didn't know either, Dad. I just kept trying." The lesson was clear. Persistence, courage, and a heart willing to rise above fear could unlock even the most impossible potential. The ancient weapon, now fully synchronized with Brian, had another message, a sense of guardianship, a calling to protect not only Earth but the universe from threats that might arise. Brian accepted this silently, understanding that his journey was far from over. There would be more challenges, more enemies, more tests, but he was no longer the boy who failed. He was a hero, a guardian, a being whose courage and heart had awakened the power of the cosmos. The aliens, once mocking, now respected him deeply. Veron placed a hand on Brian's shoulder. "You have changed everything, Brian, not just your world, but ours as well. You have shown that even the smallest, weakest-seeming beings can become the strongest when guided by heart and spirit." Brian nodded, feeling a deep connection to the universe he had once thought was unreachable. As the golden light faded from the chamber and Brian's blood settled into a steady glow, he felt a strange calm. The universe was vast, full of unknown threats and mysteries, but he was ready. He had failed, he had been mocked, and yet he had risen above every expectation. The boy who failed every test had become the hero of galaxies, a legend in the making. And as he looked up at the stars, Brian smiled, knowing that he had not just awakened the ancient weapon, he had awakened his true potential. The cosmos whispered his name, and this time, it was a voice of respect, not mockery. The journey had ended, but the adventure had only begun.